Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a perfect grid. The paper I'm providing to you is 10 by 14. This is what your grid will look like, and I'm sorry if you have a hard time seeing it since I drew in pencil. So the grid will cover the entire length of the paper. So what you'll need for this is a sharpened pencil with an eraser and a ruler. The bigger the ruler, the easier it will be to work. I also have these available. So let's get started. Hold your paper either way. And what I like to do is just my personal method of doing this to ensure that my lines are perfectly straight and that all my squares are the same size. First thing I do is I line up my ruler. I'm making sure also that my ruler is accurate and the paper is the correct size. So I'm now measuring it's 14 inches down. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really lightly with a pencil, make sure you're not using a pen, just put a mark at every inch, okay? So I'm not even moving my ruler. I'm lining up the 0 at that edge and the 14-inch mark is at the other edge, and I am just putting a mark at every inch. It's really light. It doesn't have to be super dark and heavy. I know some people, when they go to do their measuring, they move the ruler around a lot. I find this way is pretty foolproof. So I'm going to do that on every single side. To me, this is a foolproof method because it ensures that each square is going to be exactly 1 inch, which is really important for an accurate grid. Make sure also that you are actually marking at the inch mark and not the 3/4 inch mark or the 1/2 inch mark. Some rulers are harder to tell than others. And I'm on my final side here. Again, making sure that the 0 is lined up with one end of the paper, and the 10 in this case is lined up with this edge of the paper. So now I have all my marks. It's really light. It may be hard to see from your end. All my marks are spaced exactly 1 inch apart. Now, all I have to do is just connect my dashes. So I'm just lining up my ruler slightly underneath both dashes that are directly across from one another. So I'll try to make it so that you can see here. This might be easier. Lining up the ruler directly. I do it slightly underneath. And I'm doing this really lightly. Notice how I'm holding my pencil on the very edge. I find that some people, they tend to dig really deep when they're holding their pencil like this, so I hold it on the very edge to loosen my grip and to ensure that my lines aren't too deep and dark. We don't want them to be too deep and dark. And then I just repeat that process, holding my ruler steady with one hand and loosely gripping the pencil with the other. And again, just holding that ruler slightly underneath both dashes that are directly across from one another. The reason why I do this is because if I simply measured one side, here, and I wasn't holding my ruler straight and I didn't have a dash to go to meet that line with, then my increments may be more or less than 1 inch, and that's not going to make an accurate grid. So I think this method is foolproof. You just simply connect the dashes. They are directly across from one another. You'll also notice if you've made a mistake. So for instance, if this dash right here is obviously higher or lower than the one directly across from it, then it's not going to create a straight line. So notice how my lines, hopefully you can see that, are perfectly straight and they're all the same width. All right, so I think you get the picture over there. You're just going to do the same exact thing for the other dashes that are directly across from one another. So again, if these these lines aren't straight, if your columns and rows vary in size, then that's going to be a problem. Every single square should be exactly 1 inch. Right, so this is what I have so far in this corner. I think you guys get the picture.